Well, good morning. It's another home in from Border Home Inspection. Today I'm at an acreage and it's beautiful, but one of the nasty parts of living on an acreage, of course, is the septic system and the septic, how you deal with your septic water and solids. So I wanted to talk about that for a second here. I've done multiple videos about septic tanks and so on, so I just want to tell you a little bit about how I do it. So got the heated gloves, which have been a godsend to me this year. Froze my fingers many years. So we're looking first at the tank lid. Tank lid looks good, looks safe. You want to make sure that that tank lid is safe because you don't want your children falling in that tank. I won't even go into that because it's too nasty to think about. Wiring, it's always a good idea to put a cover over the wiring so that it doesn't short out, doesn't get wet and so on. Here you can see we got a float, and we also have the main power to the pump. So when the water in the tank comes up, it activates the float, makes a connection between here and the power, and the pump starts and pumps out to the field. In the wintertime, of course, I can't see the field, so I can't comment on that. I'm going to take the cover off, have a look inside. The main thing about most of these tanks is that center wall. It's a 20-year-old tank. I don't anticipate any problems with this one, but that's the main component that usually fails. But we'll talk about a couple other things as well. So I have been kicking and trying to get this cover off, and I'm not having much luck. So at this point, it's cold, and even with the heated gloves and the long johns and everything else, it's winter in Canada, and it's not fun to be doing this sort of stuff outside. So what I want to do is I want to say unable to inspect, and I think in this scenario I'd be justified in doing that. I don't want to walk back to my truck and get the tools and everything that's required to get this lid off. So it's easy to just check off that little box in the report that says unable to inspect. But I don't do things that way. So I have already gone back to the truck here, got some tools, and we're going to try to get this lid off using the tools. And if I'm not able to do it, I won't. But you try to give your best effort to your customer, and that's what I try to do. So let's have a look, see if we can get this off. So as per normal, it was very easy to get off once you break the little bit of a frost connection around there, so you get the screwdriver under there. I usually carry a larger bar as well for this job. If you have a septic tank lid that's right down on the ground, buried in the ground, it's almost impossible to get it apart in the wintertime. So make sure that when you're putting your systems in, that you keep the collar up above grade so that you can do what I just did. So we got the lid off. Now I'm going to have a look inside here. And again, the main component that I look for initially, at least, is this center wall. And I try to make sure that that wall is still in good shape. You don't want the solids on this side of the tank to end up on the liquid side where the pump pumps it out to the field. The last thing you want is grease and solids going through this pipe into your field, because of course it'll plug the pipe and it eventually plugs the field. So in this case, the collar looks good all the way down to the top of the tank. The center wall is still good. The liquid side is full. If that side's not full, then that means some of the water's running through the wall somewhere and the tank's failed. So overall it looks pretty good. This piping, the way they've done this, is pretty good. Not the best you could do. The reason they bring it up like this is so that you can actually grab the pump and pull it out. So the curved line is the line that pumps to the field, and the straight line goes right down to the pump. So the water is coming up the pipe, going back down this way into the field. So when I plug the pump in, we should see some water spraying out of this curved pipe, I hope. That's the weep hole. The other thing I would recommend in this scenario would be to put a union in here so that when it comes time to pull the pump because it's failed, you can just undo the union very quickly and pull the pump out. Right now you'd have to take those clamps off right there and heat that up with a torch probably in the wintertime to get that to come apart. And that's it's just a nasty job to do in the middle of winter. So let's plug the pump in directly and see what we get. Okay, we got to separate it. And we're going to plug the pump in. I can see the water rippling down there. The pump's on. I do not see a weep hole. So the reason why we want to see a hole and water spraying out of the pipe is we want to make sure that when the pump shuts off, that the water in this pipe is able to drain back into the tank. Okay, so right now the water is pumping up this straight line, going into the curved line, pushing the water from the dose side or the liquid side. Oh, there's my weep hole. It's pushing it out to the field. You can see water coming back. That was underwater, and that's why I didn't see it at first. That's why you wait a few minutes. It's not absolutely necessary that you have a weep hole. Sometimes the water runs back through the pump. Most of the time, it doesn't. Most of the time, you need the weep hole. So you want to make sure that the water, when the pump shuts off, drains all this piping and doesn't freeze up. So everything's looking pretty normal here, I would say. Hopefully this has helped a few of you. And if you need a good home inspection, you know who to call if you're in my area. And if you're not in my area, I always recommend asking your home inspector for sample reports so that they can show you what they do, their actual work. Not the work of the franchise, but the work that they actually do.